Okay, so I just got around to posting my long overdue Snow Patrol video. In that video, I went over the band's first two records, Songs for Polar Bear and When It's All Over, We Still Have to Clear Up. And I gave them a fairly decent, or at least positive, impression because they're very good. That's all I can really say. But now we're finally on to this album, Final Straw by Snow Patrol. Now this came out 2 years after the band. This came out 2 years after the band was with their indie years, and such. And this was also their first major label debut. It's their third album, but this was their first one to be released outside the U.S. Well, they did release the remasters of Songs for Polar Bear in the second album, but this was their first album to be released outside the U.S. They got mainstream success outside. Well, I wouldn't say outside the U.S. Outside the U.K. because the band's from Ireland. They're not from the United States. They're from Ireland, but they got some success outside of Ireland, and they eventually got success over here in the U.S. It's a very different. It's very. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a significant departure from the band's indie sounding era in favor of a much more pop sound while still keeping the alternative. Um, I will say this: the sound in this album is really freaking great. It They went from sounding decent for the time to sounding ahead of their time. This is from 2003, and the songs just sound like they came out in like 2010s, like the 2010s. It's also a significant reminder of how mixing or the music mixing really hasn't changed all that much. Like some songs still sound old even though they're new. But then again, that's morely garage rock, but this is Final Straw. So here's the cover art. We got a woman and a dude with the name of the album and the name of the band. It's worth noting that there's a version that has this part here onto this case, and it's not part of the booklet. It's actually like a separate layer. I have an album that has that. Okay, so oh, here's the spine. It's on Fiction Records. It is worth noting that the band apparently had a hard time recording this album. They found it hard to record due to the new sound they were going for, which was a lot more commercialized, basically. Here are the tracks: How to Be Dead, Wow, Cleaning Auction. They had the same amount of singles for this album as they did with Songs for Polar Bear, but this time the singles actually did better than before. Spitting Game, which I think was released before or after the album, that one started doing well. They also reissued it, and it did better than the original singles release. Oh yeah, I said Spitting Game. How to Be Dead, that was another single. Wow, Gleaming Auction, Whatever's Left. The previously mentioned Spitting Game, Chocolate, that was another single released. I think that one did a little better than Spitting Game, so it's like the middle of the few. Run was a major success. It was actually one of their most successful singles pre Eyes Open era. That's one you should definitely look at. Raised Knees, Ways and Means, Tiny Little Fractures, Somewhere a Clock is Ticking, and Same. Um, it's also worth noting that they had a song before this called Post Punk Progression, because you got to remember they had these songs recorded way before. I think they had Run recorded in like '99, I believe. But Post Punk Progression was actually an iTunes bonus track, and it was also on a live album they did. So there's that. Here's the CD. It's just the drawing on there. But yeah, they apparently found it hard to record this album because of the new sounds. It's also morely about like failed relationships and breakups, which I think has become a staple for the band, if I'm not mistaken. Um, oh, hold on. Okay, so here's the booklet. It's actually not a booklet this time. We actually have a fold out, which is the first time they did a fold out as opposed to their 6-page booklets. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's not bad, but I just wish there was like a little more to this because there's no like text; it's all pictures. There's actually look at this, all songs by Connolly, who actually joined the group as a guitarist. Lightbody, McClellan, and Quinn. This is also Mark McClellan's last album before he left in 2005, and it was apparently because of creative differences. You know, when bands write music, they tend to have creative differences, and then it comes to a point where they just leave and such. And apparently, McClellan felt that Lightbody had taken more control of the group rather than and he felt like his contributions were not so well attributed, even though he was credited for these songs. There's all that original cover. Where's the producer at? Hold on. Let's see. I'm trying to find who produced this one. I think it's like Jack Knifey or something. I did. I think it was Jack Knifey, but I can't find like the like the exact person that did that. Hold on, let me flip the booklet as well. So this is just this cornfield trail. Also, I gotta say the pictures do look stunning as well, especially for 2003, and then a trail. That looks like that back part kind of looks like a trail I would go walking in. Okay, so overall, it is a significant step up from the band's first two albums. It sounds better, it's written better. Most importantly, um, well, more importantly, the songs are definitely a lot better. There's actual choruses for these, which I think the band was sort of lacking with the first two, even though they kind of were, kind of like most of it was a chorus or something, or at least some of the songs that they had. But they wrote better choruses for this album, and I gotta say, I like this album. I would definitely recommend picking this up. Um, then later on, we'll get to Eyes Open. I will do more in the future when I get them. Like they had more than just Eyes Open. There's 100 Million Suns, Wilderness, and one other one that came out recently. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's all I gotta say. Have a good night, my Ohioans.